I'm your host, Ritesh Datta, and today we talk about sustainability for digital inclusion initiatives. Let me start with a piece of good news. Bindi International, I think some of our colleagues from Bindi is here already. Uh, they were an awardee of the Women Connect India Challenge, as all of you know, and they have just won the Data for Good Exchange 2023 India Empowerment Challenge, which is run by Dasra in partnership with Bloomberg, Societal Thinking, and Stanford PACS. This was announced earlier this week. Bin, if phones or computers are not on mute, please put yourself on mute. Uh, so yeah, I was just saying that Bindi won this award for their Sakhi application suite, which they built as part of the Women Connect India Challenge intervention. The application comprises of three integrated interfaces. The Sakhi app, which caters to rural women trainers with limited facilitators, and a central admin panel for their core team. As part of this award, Bindi will receive a grant. They will also receive showcase and amplification support and mentorship to scale their solution and impact. I congratulate the EMP Bindi team and hope they carry on the great work they have been doing to bridge the gender digital divide. And such a fantastic news to start this conversation about sustainability for digital inclusion initiatives. Coming back to our discussion for today, many of you would recall Dr. Ravi Sterling's session at the Women Connect Challenge India Round 2 Symposium, in which she outlined various pillars of program sustainability, and some of you already have incorporated many of those facets in your programs. Today, we pick up from that discussion and hear from two experts. One, a renowned digital inclusion program implementer, Mr. Vijay Sai Pratap, and another, a funder for gender digital divide interventions, Lauren Grubbs. I hope by end of this discussion, we should be able to leave you with some insights on how to continue your work beyond funding support from Women Connect India Challenge. Let me now invite our first speaker, Mr. Vijay Sai Pratap, co-founder and CEO of Grambani. Vijay is a seasoned telecom and technology development professional and is also an Acumen India 2020 fellow. Over to you, Vijay.
Hello, Ritesh, and hello, everybody, and thank you so much. Absolute pleasure and a privilege to be part of this conversation. A topic definitely close to my heart, and importantly, it's something that we at Grambani have been focusing and working on as part of our strategy. Let me just take this opportunity to probably present the screen, and I will walk you through a few slides there where we try to share our learnings, our experience, and also thoughts on this very important topic of sustainability. So please allow me a second. I hope we can see the screen.
Yes, Vijay.
Great. Thank you so much once again. Wonderful to be part of this call. Thanks so much to Ritesh, to the DAI team, and the USAID and Reliance Foundation team for giving us, Grambani, this opportunity to be part of this webinar and also share our learnings with the broader audience. Many of them, most of them, I guess, are part of the Women's Connect Challenge, family that we've been part of for a few years now. Definitely very, very happy indeed. I'm also joined by my colleagues, Shaini Chatterjee, who's also on this call. She leads the gender and youth strategy at Grambani, having been at Grambani for over a decade now. We also have Partha, who leads our business development and partnerships team at Grambani, and both of them are also joining me on this call. So thank you very much once again. So before I begin and start talking about this very important subject of sustainability that all of us within this ecosystem, within the sector, often talk about, deliberate about, and work around. I'm sure I will also give you an overview of how and what Grambani does, and how it is trying to address this particular aspect of our work. So Gramvani, basically, which means the voice of the village, right? So we're talking about voice of the village, voice of the most underserved population segments, and communities that we work with. So Gramvani's mission, is about empowering underserved communities by amplifying their voices, by reversing the flow of information, by giving them an opportunity to access contextual information, but also be able to express themselves using inclusive, community-led uh, conversation platforms. So Meri Awaz, Meri Pehchan, which is basically my voice, my identity. Gramvani was one amongst the first USAID funded Women's Connect Challenge Round 1 awardees from India back in 2017. We launched our Meri Awaz, Meri Pehchan intervention in 2018, covering two blocks, basically two provinces within central part of India, northern central part of India, the state of Bihar. Uh, Through this particular program, we were able to identify around 25 women volunteers representing the communities that we were working with. We trained them and also built their agency and capacity to engage with the local communities and using the Mobile Vani platform, which is the Meri Awaz Meri Pehchan platform, and engage with the women from the target communities. The objective was to be able to not just provide information in local languages, but also be able to drive conversations around important topics that matter to women and the communities in the target geographies we were working with. Through this intervention, we were able to, touch and engage with more than 17,000 women using our voice platform, driving thousands of voices from the communities, from the women who we engaged with, helping us understand their challenges, helping us understand, their perspectives, opening up the conversation spaces for women to learn from each other, build a shared understanding of the problems that they were facing, help them reflect, and importantly, lead to a collective action that really brought about a significant sort of an understanding and a behavior change on certain interventions that we were working with in the target geographies. This particular program not just allowed us to work, within the target communities of Gramvani, focusing on women, but it brought about us an important change within the organizational thought process as well. While we've often focused on gender, and women as a target user segment, but what this program also helped us with is to be able to, to sort of internalize, to importantly to take gender as an important conversation that we drive upfront and not as an afterthought, right? So as part of every intervention, be it agriculture, be it education, be it governance, be it social protection, any of these interventions, we took a very gender focused approach, right? And that really helped us make significant progress across our programs, and we continue to invest in this sort of an approach, across our programs. And today, if you will see from 2017 to 2023, when besides the initial pilot phase, what we also did was post the initial pilot duration, the MAMP, or the Meri Awaz Meri Pehchan intervention, was subsequently integrated into the Mobile Vani network, basically, which is a federated network of voice-based community media platforms. I will talk briefly about it in the subsequent slides. We expanded the program to about 25 districts, right, provinces within most part of central and northern India, where Gramvani operated in. In fact, currently the target scale-up plan is to take this particular program to close to 100 plus districts. We've touched over 50,000 users, women so far, about 500,000 calls that were generated on our platforms for this particular program. We've had close to 75,000 user recordings, right? Primarily women who've shared their stories, their impact stories, their concerns, grievances, their perspectives, opinions, which really gives us a sense of what they're thinking and what their thought process is, right? And this data, these insights are truly valuable, right? So they're coming from the communities bottom up, and that's what is a true value proposition, if I may call it so, or the USP that the Gramvani platforms sort of generate. Not just that, I mean, in terms of we have been able to collaborate and partner with organizations across the spectrum of topics like digital financial services, sexuality and reproductive health, social protection, governance, climate, agriculture, and launch close to 35 plus gender focused programs and campaigns, post the pilot phase on this particular intervention, where we were able to help our partners engage with women who are interacting with our platforms on this particular, channel, which is the Meri Awaaz, Meri Pehchan channel. So let me just quickly take you through a quick overview of what this program was all about. So as I said, Gramvani's platforms is a combination of technology, content, and community mobilization, right? And this particular intervention focused on women and young girls, right? It's an audio and voice-based participatory and interactive technology platform where people, even with simple feature phones, can give a missed call, they get a call back, they listen to content that is pre-recorded, and they listen to it like a radio, right? But it's an inclusive platform because people even without smartphones can use this particular platform. Content is available in formats that are specifically co-created not just by us but also in collaboration with partners and also the communities, keeping community women and girls into focus, right? So and we used various channels besides the interactive voice response or the feature phone based channel. We also use voice bots that helped us play pre-recorded answers in real time to users' questions, almost like a voice-based Quora, right? So people who did not have smartphones could use the platform through their feature phones using voice as a medium, but people who also had smartphones, including some of our community volunteers, could use WhatsApp and also a Mobile Money app as audio-based smartphone-based channels to interact with our platforms or with our services. Analytics again is an important layer that we provide and bring forth and helps us to understand the user shift in knowledge, attitude, and practices. Again, something that we use through our surveys, voice-based surveys, to understand user behavior patterns and also the shifts that happen post consumption of the content and the programs and modules that we create and provide for the users. Importantly, it's not just about technology and content. What really differentiates Gramvani's work is how we embed the platforms or technologies within the communities. And this we do it through a very bottoms-up community-led approach. And that's why we call them as community media platforms, right? So, and this we do it through our on-ground cadre of community women who are trained as community leaders to ensure not just continuity and maintain the contextual nature of conversations, but also to be able to drive the sort of sustainability of the network and the platform and its relevance, and also from a sustainability perspective as well. And most importantly, it generates a lot of ground-based or ground truth or ground-based feedback and insights and data that helps us understand the user perspectives. Now, as I mentioned, Gramvani's initial program, which is Meri Awaaz, Meri Pehchan, which operated in 2 blocks during the initial pilot funding phase, then subsequently was adopted into the Mobile Money network. And that is effectively how Gramvani works by running these programs at an initial phase and then adopting them within our broader network of community media platforms. Now, each of these independent units, now some of them are geography specific units, like for example, a district has a Mobile Money club, as we call it. It offers content across various thematic areas. It could be something that's relevant to that specific community or district. It could be on gender, on agriculture, on health, on education, on climate, right? On local government governance issues. And these are literally like technology commons, right? Or community commons, where communities are able to interact, create content that's relevant for them, and are able to engage on topics which matter to them, right? And using voice as a medium. So Gramvani was able to integrate and actually transition the mobile MAMP, or rather the Meri Awaaz, Meri Pehchan program into all of our 25, 30 Mobile Money clubs by 2022-2023, right? So, and that's how we were able to scale its operations besides the 2 small blocks that we operated in the initial phase and expanded to a very large, population footprint. And that's how we were able to touch more than, the user base that I mentioned about, and generate close to 75,000 voice reports over the period of time, right? So now, when you look at the right of the right side of the screen, you will see that organizations now, it could be development sector partners, NGO partners, community-based organizations, social enterprises, government bodies, research organizations, for-profit organizations, all of them, whoever intends to reach out and engage with this target population are able to leverage our network of community media platforms to interact, not just for outreach, but also be able to interact and engage with this target user groups using our voice platform. And that helps with not just with sustainability of the network, but also with providing a great value proposition to these partners who otherwise using conventional media are not able to reach out to this target segment. It generates a lot of very valuable sort of insights, very valuable, data sets. Importantly, also drives conversations on community-led matters or community-focused matters, and that's how we are able to, retain not just the financial sustainability, but also the network sustainability, which I will again talk about in the subsequent slides. So who are we, right? So Gramvani is, is an organization, is a social tech enterprise based out of India. We are a 100+ member team with close to 700+, 800+ community volunteers who've been working across our media network. We work with more than 200+ partners. We build voice-based participatory media platforms that are accessible through simple feature phones. We worked with partners who have leveraged our technology stack across 5 countries. We've touched more than 4 million people so far, and close to 30% of this population or the user segments that we have been able to engage with are women, right? And again, close to as on date, close to almost 17 million calls that we've generated on our platforms, but 100,000 unique users every month, and close to 10,000+ impact stories that have been recorded on our platforms, and really talk about women, people, communities, and their challenges and their stories, and how they've been able to overcome some of these challenges using our model and theory of change that we'll probably talk about in subsequent slides. We've received great recognition. We're part of the Million Lives Collective. We work with some very, very, wonderful set of partners and organizations who've supported us, including USAID, who we've had the privilege of working with for a while now, and who have supported us in, many interventions, both directly and indirectly through other partners as well. So, again, as I said, voice is what Gramvani focuses on. We believe voice is a very underutilized channel. We are a voice-first organization. This is something I'm sure most of us know about. It's about local language and its relevance. Availability of content in local language really helps empower communities, and it helps them express without worrying about the challenges of literacy or digital literacy, which otherwise become reasons for exclusion and reasons for not being able to participate in the broader narrative, right? So voice versus text, again, something that people have, the ecosystem have deliberated and debated about, and we've really found that voice is a very powerful medium, very understated, very underutilized in many ways, but can be very powerful in helping bridge the gaps that otherwise technology can often lead to, right? So, and this is constantly growing, as we all know, and which is why Gramvani has been investing in a great deal of innovations on voice technologies over the years. The theory of change fundamentally focuses on developing and building participatory communication tools, but focusing on communities. Now, conventional technology approach is to build technology tools more so from a supply side, which means creating technology tools, helping organize individuals or service providers to help deliver services or to help penetrate services within communities, mostly the underserved population segments. But when we're talking about Gramvani focuses on building community tools for the communities and by the communities, and how it helps them leapfrog the challenges which otherwise conventional approaches to technology can lead to, right? So, and that's why we've taken a little more difficult route, but we believe with capacity building, but with patience, with persistence, we believe that's the real long-term approach to sustainable development. Now, the theory of change fundamentally focuses on providing contextual information in local language and enabling not just information, but also enabling people and allowing people to have conversations on these topics, build a shared understanding, reflect on these points, on these aspects and be able to express themselves on these platforms and collectivize for local action, right? And that's what has really helped us achieve the sort of accountability loops that we've been able to generate, the sort of sustained development in some of our interventions, the ownership of communities that again is a very important factor that can drive continuity of these programs. And most importantly, I think how it empowers and builds the agency of communities to take up challenges and how it helps them solve these problems, because knowing the context of these problems is extremely important, right? So and these platforms enable them to build that context and be able to have these conversations. So I will not spend too much of time on the different pathways, the impact pathways, both in terms of we've got learning, we've got online agency, and we've got offline agency. But three important points that I would like to highlight here is from a learning perspective, right? The importance of actionable information grounded in context. The point that I mentioned about it's not just about providing information in local language, but how do you help contextualize these problems and these conversations, right? So there needs to be spaces. Policies will work, but policies will work only when people have a shared and a common understanding of these problems. And this is the context that we're talking about. Uh, Online agency, right? How do you listening to one's voice on this platform can be a great way of helping people build their confidence, the confidence within their own community, trust. That's an important factor in terms of how do you ensure sustainability and continuity of such digital platforms, right? Feeling of being heard is empowering in itself, right? So that's from an online agency perspective. That's what Gramvani has learned over the years. From an offline agency perspective, when we work with volunteers who literally anchor these platforms within the communities, assistance provided. It's not just about how these community volunteers mobilize and bring communities to talk on these platforms, but how they help close loops, how they help solve problems, local issues, approach government officials, right? And how this kind of builds their offline agency as well, right? So these are three important pathways that Gramvani kind of focuses on, both from a learning perspective, online agency, and also building the offline agency as well. So from a user journey perspective, again, as I said, the access channels are multi-channel. It's a multi-channel platform, but focusing on voice, interactive voice response for people who do not have smartphones. We have an app-based interface, which is again smartphone, WhatsApp, and also voice bot, where we leverage a lot of advanced technologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning, NLP, to make the overall content discoverability and engagement process much more easier, right? So user calls in even from a standard IVR or an interactive voice response perspective. People just call in, they listen to content, they are able to navigate the playlist using simple key press, actions, or even through voice actions through some of our advanced platforms. They're able to voice themselves, they're able to express themselves, they're able to listen to other people within communities, share their grievances, and also share their impact stories as well. We run multiple, awareness campaigns, behavior change interventions, voice-based surveys, multiple choice question-based surveys, etc. That helps us not just with outreach and engagement, but also with, sort of helping communities collectivize. Again, it's, as I said, I've spoken about this briefly. It's about technology, contextual content, community participation, where we train community volunteers to anchor these platforms and literally own and represent the communities, almost like a community commons in some ways, right? These are community conversation spaces seeded in context and driven by the communities and for the communities. Again, partnership again is a very important element where we work with local partners, we work with state level partners, national level partners, including government bodies who leverage our technology platforms, our community platforms, where we co-create programs focusing on these target user segments, and we're able to generate the sort of interest and engagement that these partners require. And this not just helps with co-creating relevant content on various thematic areas, but also with expanding our reach and scale across different geographies as well, right? So these are four important aspects on which that Gramvani has been able to build the Mobile Vani network, what we call as the federated network of community media platforms. Now, the different kinds of platforms that Gramvani deploys is, one is of course the geo-specific platforms, which is again district level interventions, where like for example a district in Bihar, Jamui, right? We have Jamui Mobile Vani, and similarly, we've got 100 such district level or geography specific instances, which again collectively we call them as Mobile Vani. And this network of community media platforms is what helps us achieve the sustainability that we are talking about, right? Thematic platforms, right? Geo agnostic platforms, platforms which, for example, focus on a workforce which is operates across multiple geographies, but it's language specific and theme specific, right? Uh, the Shamik Vani, which is again a platform focusing on workforce and labor rights, a platform focusing on youth and sexuality and reproductive health, right? It's called Kahi and Kahi Bate, which means which means the said and the unsaid, right? So, and similarly, a platform focusing on persons with disabilities as well. Then there are, of course, sponsored platforms, which again target specific user segments and specific, thematic interventions, which operate, independently, where Gramvani brings about its technology, content, and community mobilization capabilities. So the dimensions of sustainability, when we're talking about digital interventions and how we're looking at the continuity of these programs, we're looking at three important dimensions of sustainability. Again, learning from Ravi's own slides that she had presented a few years back. A few of them that we've been able to look at and implement, and also continue to sort of learn from on this particular aspect is: one is the social sustainability. The second one is network sustainability, or broadly from the perspective of how relevant is it for the communities, right? How relevant does it continue to be for the communities? And third, and of course, the most important one is the financial sustainability. Now, very quickly, from a social sustainability standpoint, it is about how do you build social capital, right? How does it become relevant for the communities? The user or level acknowledgement and identity when they speak on the platform. Building purpose, solidarity, and shared understanding of issues. I've again spoken briefly about it. Agency, about building skills and also the mutual ownership and accountability within the local social structures. Creating safe spaces for conversations and learning environments for the communities. This is from the perspective of what it means from a social sustainability angle, right? Now, from an implementation standpoint, an important element to note is how do you build capacity and ensure enabling equitable access, right, from the community's perspective. When we're talking about network level sustainability, which is more about relevance for the communities and how does it continue to stay relevant for the communities, we're looking at community ownership. Again, the volunteer network that I spoke about, absolutely important, because that's what helps us seed and continue the engagement with communities and make it relevant. Two is about the partner network, right? So as I spoke about, we work with multiple partners, both on the ground, offline partners, community-based organizations, NGO partners, state governments, etc. They again become a very important layer in terms of ensuring maintaining the content diversity, in terms of expanding the scope and relevance of the network as well. The commons-based management approach, which again is about facilitating mutual respect among volunteers, saying that this is a platform for the communities and by the communities. Now, identify diverse use cases, catering to users groups. We should be ensuring that user groups from multiple aspects of the community are part of this particular platform and get that opportunity to access and also participate in the platform. So the volunteers again play a very important role in this. We call it the communitization of technology achieved through decentralization, right? So how do you decentralize the technology platform without using a centralized approach, and how do you ensure maintain the contextual nature by letting communities take ownership of these platforms, right? Ensuring their participation and diverse participation on the platform is ensured. Now, from a financial, sustainability perspective, again, something all of us are very clearly focused and, working always towards is, how do you retain, when I've spoken about the federated setup, where, while each of these independent instances, they are able to help maintain the contextual nature of content and conversations, sustaining them is very difficult, right? Which is why when we're looking at a federated network of community media platforms, we are able to generate a captive user base across this network of community media platforms. This not just provides with a shared understanding of issues, a wide spectrum of user base, right? And we are able to connect organizations and the ecosystem who want to engage in outreach, and for outreach with this target population and with a better demographic understanding of the users. This network helps achieve that. Now, institutional partnerships, again, as a digital public good, Gramvani has always been working towards enabling this Mobile Vani network as a digital public good for the ecosystem to leverage, right? Both from a domain-specific programs, both tech and offline action as well. Now, captive user base, again, I've spoken about achieving the economies of scale, deeper demographic understanding, the shared infrastructure as well, and a faster go-to-market in some ways for partners who want to leverage this platform or this network for their own programs. Right. So again, using a bottoms-up approach, the network offers reach, which is access to its services, which help where Gramani helps partners with designing programs and launching these programs. And third, very importantly, is the insights, the data that it generates, and how it helps not just drive local accountability, but also helps partners, and the ecosystem also use these data and insights for informed policy making, and also to be able to address community level issues and program level issues as well, right? Feedback again is a very important value proposition that the platform or the network is able to offer. So very quickly, I will walk you through a few examples or aspects of each of these, dimensions that I spoke about. We spoke about the social dimension of sustainability. We speak about capacity building and equitable access, right? Ensuring that existing inequities are not perpetuated. How do we do that? We do it through offline processes, appropriation by more skilled users, representation across, across the class lines, caste and gender lines, right? This is absolutely important from Gramani's perspective, or the overall value systems as well, right? So how do you ensure that existing inequities are not perpetuated? Now, creating safe spaces. Now look at this young woman who from Nalanda, who was married, and out of pressure within the family, she was not she was not very happy. She wanted to be an engineer, but because of the marriage plans, she could not pursue her dreams. But she did not let it go away, right? So she still pursued her dream of studying further. She finished her nursing course, and she continued to use this opportunity to not just stay motivated, but also motivate and influence other women within the community. She used this particular platform to express herself without fear, using her voice, right? And that really empowers her, and not just empowers her, but also inspires other women who listen to the program on the platform, right? And that's what we're calling about creating those safe spaces where women and users can express themselves without worrying about others. Creating learning environments, right? So we're looking at, I mentioned about the importance of context and completeness, right? It's not just about providing information, it's also about ensuring that is it contextual, is it relevant to the community, and they're looking at the socio-cultural and economic factors that influence decision making within communities. Is the information provided contextual in that nature or not? Two is completeness, which is, are we ensuring that other people's views, thoughts, opinions, perspectives are also taken into consideration, right? Because that influences people's ability to not just take decisions, but also be able to take action on the ground as well, right? So these are two important aspects that Gramani focuses on when we're looking at creating learning environments, and especially through a participatory media approach. Now, creating again, when we look at this particular example, right? So, when you create these spaces, there was this woman who, who had learned to stitch stoles, and she was able to talk about it and advertise about that initiative on this particular platform. But subsequently, during the pandemic, she kind of lost all her opportunities to earn, right? And what she then used this particular platform was how she learned to make home masks, right? Homemade masks, and she learned it again through some inspiring, stories that were shared on this platform, and how that helped her not just overcome her economic challenges, but also provide her with, some sort of a motivation in terms of how she has to continue her efforts of learning as well on the particular platform, right? So again, the second example that you will see is about how a women using the particular platform, the MMP or the Meri Awaaz Meri Pehchan platform, was able to learn how to find, her bank account balance, right? She was not just able to use the platform, but she used the help of a neighbor to call on the platform and be able to share this particular information with her, right? So it's about creating these easy to use, accessible and inclusive learning environments for people. And again, that's a lot contributed by the communities and for the communities in the language that they understand and can relate to, and is absolutely contextual for their requirement. Now look at it from the perspective of network sustainability, right? I spoke about the federated setup. It's a conscious choice of a decentralized design to ensure the relevant use cases are, brought in, to ensure that standardized protocols are designed to govern the usage. Yeah, this is what we call as the communitization of technology achieved through, decentralization. We have, community volunteers who are managed and who our field teams are able to engage with and ensure that the feedback is taken from these community volunteers who literally are our eyes and ears in many ways, and provide us with the feedback from the communities on the relevance of, not just on the relevance of content, but also on the quality of content, the types of content, the types of themes and topics that we intend to discuss and debate, and what not to discuss, what not to debate, and what sort of feedback helps us with improving not just the engagement within the communities, but also bring out important insights and data points that help us understand the user base much better. Right. So look at it from the social, the kind of incentives or the kind of benefits that the users, get from this particular platform. Right. So it's about social incentives. It's not just about the financial incentives, although there's a small honorarium that's paid to the volunteers. You see how one of our volunteers speaks about, it's not just for the money, which is of course a small amount. It's more about the opportunity to build that social capital within the community, the recognition, the acknowledgement that they get within the community, that matters a lot to them. What about the purpose, purpose incentive, right? So look at how a women volunteer talks about building the identity, the recognition within the communities. When they stand for themselves, when they stand for their communities, they're able to help their neighbors solve specific problems, right? And you just see how this women who earlier was never allowed to get out of the house or go or attend any of the community meetings, after listening to Mobile Vani and this particular program was happy to have his wife participate. It's a very different sort of a gender lens, but I mean, in terms of it, sort of helped this women, ask and demand for her right, and be able to build that agency to be able to participate in many of these meetings. Right. It's about identifying their purpose in many ways. Right. So solidarity, again, a very important aspect that Gramvani focuses in is, it's not just about listening to content or being able to relate to it, but how do they build solidarity, right? They understand that it's not just me, but also there are others who are facing similar challenges, and helps me build the confidence, the courage to ask questions, learn from somebody else. Right here, listening to a woman, you're seeing how a women volunteer from one of our clubs in Jharkhand, one of the states in India. I was able to identify her purpose, and how the collective approach, the collective sense of purpose, also gave her the confidence that she could also be a leader, a club leader going forward. Right? It's about solidarity incentives. Monetary incentives, again, as I said, the way we structured it is in terms of a collective approach, how the community volunteers together could be acknowledged and recognized for the work that they were doing, and how the small sort of a financial honorarium that were given to them, were able to motivate them and also be able to give them a sense of direction, right? So that's the monetary incentives. Overall, again, as I said, it's about taking a very careful, common-spaced approach and a management to facilitate this mutual respect among volunteers. Now, these clubs, in many ways, have become institutions in themselves, right? Representing these communities and helping them, bring about problems, issues, topics, conversations which matter to them, rather than take a very top-down approach, which conventional media or conventional technology approaches would sort of take. The impact has been amazing. We've had many stories like that, right? So I mean, over the years. Now look at how this women caller from one of our clubs spoke about about child marriage, an important campaign that we ran, and how it helped women overcome the apprehensions, the concerns, give them the courage and the agency to speak about it and express themselves, debate within their families, and also be able to avoid getting married at an early stage, right? So, and we've got some great stories that have come about from this particular platform. And similarly, many such programs, and impact stories that have been, that this platform and this particular program has been able to achieve. And finally, I mean, I've talked about the financial aspect, right? So Gramvani, as I said, offers a community-centric solution for partnerships. Partners can become knowledge partners, social media collaborators, campaign and implementation partners, ground resolution partners, grassroots media partners. And the benefits for partners would be not just in terms of faster go-to-market to launch new campaigns or programs, but also in terms of offer a multi-channel voice-based interface, which helps them reach out to all segments of the population in an inclusive way, shared and deeper understanding of the issues and the demographics. The data and insights that are generated are extremely valuable, not just for the partner, but from a broader ecosystem angle. Right. And most importantly, there's no cost of onboarding for partners, right? They can also become partners for expanding the scope and reach of the platform or the network, but also be able to join in just as a campaign partner, right? So this is the current reach. The Mobile Money network today, operates in about 100 plus districts. As you know, just the Mobile Money network has touched about 1 million users, about 100,000 unique users every month. 70% of the users, in working age with monthly disposable incomes of less than 2,000, right? About roughly 2,000. We've got 700 plus volunteers who are working on the ground. In fact, 800 plus currently. They're trained in not just in terms of community mobilization, content creation, distributed moderation, but also be able to engage with local authorities and drive accountability and represent their communities as well. We've got phenomenal number of impact stories that these volunteers have led during the pandemic, right? And as the network of Mobile Money was extremely useful for partners to reach out to a wide segment of population segments, especially during a space when other conventional media or conventional programs or interventions were not able to reach them directly. So, what do we offer to partners? As I mentioned, organizations, and how do we achieve this sustainability, this financial sustainability? Through this network of platforms, organizations who would like to run awareness campaigns, community outreach and behavior change interventions, community research interventions, community empowerment programs focusing on social protection and grievance redressal, advertising lead generation campaigns by even brand partners and social enterprises who want to reach out to this target audience. They've been able to leverage our network of platforms and the benefits that I spoke about earlier. And they pay for these campaigns. And that's how we are able to achieve the financial sustainability that we are talking about. Right. So, and these are the two, revenue models, if you may call it so, that help us sort of achieve the network levels of financial sustainability. One is, of course, managed services projects, where we offer the entire spectrum of, scope of services, which include technology, the content creation, community mobilization, and also the knowledge and the BI and business intelligence services as well that we offer through our platform. The network revenues, again, I spoke about, is when organizations who want to leverage our existing network without having to deploy a dedicated platform, they're able to leverage our network and be able to reach out and engage with the target population. And that helps us with improved efficiencies, lower cost of onboarding and outreach, and more importantly, benefit from the shared learnings, a trusted platform, a responsible platform in the way that they can engage and interact with the communities that we work with, right? So, and our constant effort is to expand this network. Today, we're talking about our 100 plus districts that Gram Money is operating in. We are hoping to expand the Meri Awaaz, Meri Pehchan, the digital intervention for women, with a focus to bridge the digital, gender digital divide. And we hope to expand it and penetrate across the 100 plus districts that we're operating in. And we're looking at partners who we can collaborate with, work with constantly, and expand this base and achieve the collective objective of achieving the, of bridging this gender digital divide. As I said, it's as the gender divide, or the digital divide that we're talking about. It's not an afterthought, right? So every intervention, be it on climate, be it on digital financial inclusion, be it on agriculture, on education, right? Across these interventions, we're taking a gender-first approach, right? So gender and youth are extremely important strategies that Gram Money has been working on and continues to invest in. So we've been looking at collaborating and working with a wide set of partners, and we really would invite and would love to talk to more and more partners about this, right? So yes, that's, I guess, the program that we wanted to speak about, and also talk about our sustainability efforts. We really hope that we've been able to give you a broad perspective. Thank you so much for the opportunity once again.
Yeah, thank you so much. I love the way you talked about the fact that program sustainability is not just about just raising money and doing the same thing over and over again, but the different ways also of integrating the work on gender digital divide in other programs and sustaining your interventions in that way. Thank you so much for that. Our next speaker, Lauren Grubbs, is the Gender Digital Divide Lead in the USAID ITR Hub, and she leads the portfolio within the larger Digital Strategy Department at USAID. Thank you, Lauren, for being here. You've been part of Women Connect Challenge. You've seen it all. We'd love to hear a little more from you about uh, what you've seen in the field, and also, what's happening at USAID. Anything exciting? Please go ahead.
Thanks so much, Ritesh. And thank you, Vijay. It was really an excellent presentation. I think you had such a comprehensive approach to sustainability. It's really great to see how Gramvani has evolved and how it's worked outside of Women Connect Challenge 1, which is great to be a part of you all with. Recognizing time, I do just want to talk a little bit and really echo a lot of the points that were made already about sustainability and what I've seen as a donor to be really those aspects that have made projects and organizations the most successful, in my opinion. And then I would love to talk a little bit about what's coming next for the Gender Digital Divide program and initiative at USAID. And hopefully we'll have a little bit of time at the end for questions. So the first, I know there are obviously so many different aspects of sustainability: environmental sustainability, social, fiscal. I really want to go deep into what has been started to talk about as far as partnerships and also telling the story of your work. So, the first area that I've seen in really successful projects and organizations, and what we at USAID obviously aim to support and to strengthen, is these strong stakeholder relationships. So, that means both at the community level and as well as with other outside organizations. So on the community level, I believe you all have obviously heard from CMQ, and you've now heard from Gramvani as well, about how important it is to generate that buy-in from the communities that you're working in, making sure that they're part of the co-creation, making sure that your product or your training or whatever you're trying to do with the community is really very relevant to them in their local languages, meeting them where they are as far as, their level of digital literacy, and making sure that, what you are offering to them is really valued. And so sometimes this means, working with local gatekeepers. This could be men, women, local leaders in that community, to make sure that you have them supporting your work and supporting not only your work while you are doing it, but then also kind of being then your ambassadors for your work and really being able to spread the word about what you're doing as well. Likewise, it's also just so important to have other organizations, build upon your work. What I've seen to be really great is, you have an organization that has a strong competitive advantage, whether that's in delivering access and internet, whether that's delivering trainings, whether that's, this really strong understanding of the gender norms and, social contracts in different communities, and then partnering with other organizations that have perhaps a slightly different comparative advantage, and really coming together in ways that make the most sense. So, I've seen that, of course, when it comes to internet service providers, partnering with local organizations to conduct trainings, whether that's, working with local telecom operators, to make sure that they are reaching the women in their communities, and they're pricing their products and their sales is really directed towards women. And sometimes it takes, working outside of that, that structure, to make sure that they are, again, being very relevant to the communities that they've been working with and that they're aiming to work more with. So, I've seen in some of these aspects too, on the gender digital divide side, which was also talked about in Gramvani's work, is really tapping into that digital financial inclusion aspect as well, to really help with the sustainability of your work. Of course, tapping into mobile money, tapping into that can be local shopkeepers as well, who perhaps can help provide another layer of sustainability for kind of the work of, and be then those ambassadors themselves. If they have perhaps a internet located in their shop, they themselves, will value that, and vet their customers well as well. So I think that that's something that we've really seen to be important. Also working with international NGOs and positioning yourself as a place that, has that buy-in from the community, that has those projects that have really been shown to work, because those many times those local INGOs don't have the same networks that you all have, don't have the same ear to the ground as far as, what is really needed. And so I've seen some really great cooperations with these INGOs from local organizations, and so I'd certainly recommend that as well, and happy to talk a little bit more if we have time at the end. And so the other aspect of sustainability that I've seen be really important is the ability to tell your story. So I don't know about you all, but monitoring and evaluation as well as communications are not usually my favorite part about programming, but they can sometimes be seen as an afterthought or as, a second tier to the core programming that you're doing. But from what I've seen, these aspects are really important to sustainability, making sure that your monitoring evaluation structure can really track what you are able to do, both directly and indirectly, both qualitatively and quantitatively, and making sure that the learning aspect is also something that is really taken seriously, making sure that you are having those focus groups, you are having those conversations with your community members that are participating in your work to make sure that you are constantly evolving and constantly listening and making sure that your programming can be as effective as possible. And then in turn, that is obviously something that donors look to when trying to evaluate whether to help scale a program or, repeat in another geography, making sure that, you can see that pattern of success, but then also learning from challenges as well. And that's really important to kind of the furthering of your work. And, the other side, as far as communications, I think that this is another aspect of, international development programming that can sometimes be overlooked or not seen as important. But from what we've seen is that it is so very important to have this communication strategy and to make sure that you are really being able to tell that comprehensive story, whether that be through heroes. The way that USA does is we like to identify heroes that have worked with your work and really kind of tell the whole evolution of this is where they were at the beginning, this is how they interacted with your work, and this is what they're aiming to do in the future with their newfound knowledge or newfound networks, etc. And so I think that as if you as an organization can have these as part of your as aspects of any kind of proposal, it will certainly be that much more competitive, and also just for yourself going beyond just understanding what that specific RFP is and what that specific learning that is being looking for by a donor, but really going that extra mile, making sure that you have prepared the foundation when those proposals opportunities do come about. And so, speaking of that, would love to talk a little bit about what we are planning to do at USAID as far as future programming in the gender digital divide space. So, we announced the Women in the Digital Economy Fund. And when I say we, I mean Vice President Harris when she was in Ghana in March. And the Women in the Digital Economy Fund is a joint effort between USAID and Gates Foundation. USAID will be investing $50 million over the next 5 years, and Gates Foundation will be investing $10 million over the next 5 years, really directed towards closing the gender digital divide. And we've also been able to announce additional partners around G20 in the fall. So we were able to bring on Microsoft Airband, who has said that they would like to invest $10 million, as well as the government of Korea with $1.6 million. These are direct commitments. This is direct work that we're anticipating being done through the Indian Economy Fund. But we've also been able to mobilize commitments from an additional set of private sector partners. So for G20, we announced an additional $5.15 million that will be kind of part of this broader network of the Women Digital Economy Initiative that will be trying to mobilize work around this effort. And so would love to talk a little bit about kind of what are the aims of WIDEF. We call it WIDEF for short. Women Digital Economy Fund is a bit of a mouthful. And the aims are really to, like I said, accelerate progress to close the digital divide through scaling these evidence-based proven solutions, including women-led solutions that will work to focus on programming that's to support digital access and affordability, design and development, especially women-led development. So this really ties in well to a lot of the aspects that we have talked about before. And it has mainly 5 core expected results that it's looking to accelerate through this fund. The first is access and affordability. So this, of course, is looking at getting more internet access into communities that wouldn't normally have that access, and also making sure that internet-enabled devices are being able to reach these middle mile or last mile communities and into the hands of women, and to make sure that those devices are digitally enabled with services, including digital finance, and that data is affordable, reliable, secure, and accessible, including for users with disabilities. So we also are working specifically with the Inclusive Development Hub at USAID to make sure that we are having dedicated work for women with disabilities as part of this fund, recognizing that there are many different intersections that need to be taken into account when trying to address the digital divide. But at least in this first iteration, we want to make sure we're calling out women with disabilities because of the huge nature of the gender and disability gap that comes into play when you look at that intersection. The second is relevant products and tools. So making sure that you're designing, developing, and providing access to relevant products and tools. So, that's through interfaces, the voice technology applications, making sure that they're really meeting women where they are as far as, digital literacy, low literacy, things like that. And also, really generating that demand for women's use of these services, which is so very important to sustainability as well. And the third, which I know is a part of many, if not all of your programs, as the literacy and skills component, making sure that we are strengthening women's digital skills and literacy. And this includes media literacy so that they can fully and safely access digital services and participate in digital spaces, including the digital economy. And not only participate in those digital spaces, but really be the leaders in these spaces as well. And the fourth is safety and security. So we anticipate safety and security risk mitigation aspects are going to be components of every single project that we consider and that we want to fund. So this is really making sure that there are risk mitigation strategies to addressing technology facilitated gender-based violence, for example, so online harassment, but also on the digital financial inclusion side, making sure that you're strengthening safeguards for digital user protection, including consumer financial protection, data protection, cybersecurity, fraud, and other forms of risk mitigation that are particularly relevant to women using these services. And the last is data and insights. So this really ties well into the monitoring, evaluating, and learning, but really making sure that you're expanding collection and responsible use of sex disaggregated data and gender analysis to better understand social norms and systems that influence gender disparities in the technology adoption. And so even though this is kind of where we really call out this social norm aspect, we want to make sure that all of these 5 expected core results are really addressing those underlying social norms and gender norms that we know are such a big component of the existing gender digital divide and the growing gender digital divide in many of the countries that we work in. So I see that I am a little bit over time. I tried to condense this, but happy to, if we, Ritesh, up to you as far as how much time you want to give to questions. But I'm also very open to answering questions over emails. Feel free to contact me. We also have the genderdigital@usa.gov email where you can, if you email that email, you will be able to get on a newsletter, get on a listserv where we will send out once this funding opportunity is available next year. So please do that if you're interested. I'll put it in the chat. But thank you, Ritesh, for this opportunity.
Thank you, Lauren. We will open it up for a quick Q&A, but I just wanted to thank you for your insights and learnings on gender digital divide programming. And we all are so excited about the YDIF initiative. Thank you so much for your leadership in rolling it out. Let me quickly open up the Q&A session. And if you have any questions for Vijay and Lauren, please sort of use the raise hand function and just go ahead and ask. While we are waiting, I think somebody had put in a question for Vijay. I'm just looking it up. So Vijay, do you want to talk about how community volunteers are sustained at Grambani? Maybe a minute or so, if you can just quickly.
Yeah, thanks for the question. So again, as I said, as part of our slides, there are, the financial incentive is of course a small component that's kind of given as an honorarium, but these are integrated as part of either our program budgets or when we work with partners or our internal network sustainability budgets, right? So where we work towards accruing those budget from the internal sources, right? But otherwise, from a programmatic standpoint, every program we do try and incorporate and include, a community mobilization budget, which kind of maps up to the volunteers. So, but that's again a very small component, and that's what, as I mentioned on the slides, that's not actually why the volunteers are there.
Thank you for that, Vijay. I don't see any questions immediately, but I'm sure everybody will have a lot of questions for both of you. Lauren has already shared the email you can write to, but if you need facilitation in speaking to her, I mean, feel free to sort of connect with us directly as well, and we are happy to connect you or send your questions and find an answer for you. Vijay's email is also there. Feel free to reach out. And yeah, and before sort of we end this, I just wanted to say that we have a short survey, which should be Jyoti. I will sort of pass this question on to Vijay, and maybe you all can have a direct conversation. Um, no problem. So yeah, we will be sending out a post-webinar survey, and it's already there on the chat. Do take a minute to sort of fill it up. Let me now quickly invite Achal Aneja. She's the program development lead at Reliance Foundation. All of you know her. And as you know, Reliance Foundation has jointly rolled out the Women Connect Challenge, India Challenge with USAID, and we would love to hear what she has to say. Yeah. Achal, sorry, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Hi, everyone. Thanks, Ritesh. I know everyone's been staying back over time, so I won't take up too much time. Just wanted to thank the speakers for joining us today, Partha for sharing Vani's journey with us, and Lauren for telling us more about USAID's exciting initiatives in the GGT space. And once again, a very big application being selected as one of the winners for the D4GX 2023 India Empowerment Challenge. We're very thrilled with this recognition of the Sakhi app, and we're wishing the team all the success for the next phase. As we come to an end to the speaker series for this year, we are hoping that the various topics covered in the series have been useful and relevant. And while today's session may be the final one by DAI this year, the community of practice would, of course, still keep going. And we'll be looking at additional sessions next year, and we'll share more information on that in due time. But till then, we look forward to seeing you continue to engage as much as you have with one another on this platform through your blogs, articles, as well as sharing your insights, experiences, as well as updates. So thank you once again for joining us today, and back to you.
Thank you, Achal. Thank you also, Vijay, for taking the time to talk about your work and what you've done to sustain your programs to combat gender digital divide. Thank you, Lauren, for sharing about YDEF and about sharing your learnings about how to, how to build and sustain good programs on gender digital divide. I'm sure all of us who are present here found this conversation useful. Again, let us know if you have any follow-up questions for our speakers. We can facilitate it for you, or you already have the email, so feel free to directly reach out to them. Best of luck as you plan your program sustainability, and have a great day. Thank you so much.